Is Islam compatible with Western values? Take a look at this clip over here in a debate with Gad Saad. And they're debating this particular issue, where Islamic law, Sharia law in particular, how that jives with Western values. So we'll watch this clip together, this debate, and then talk about it. But first, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Check this out.
You said it was disgusting to question whether or not a given faith was compatible with the Western values or British culture. And you said there's quite a different context in America to what it is here regarding the grooming gangs. I don't know if you know, and I'd be interested to hear your response to this, see if it changes your mind. In the UK, Pakistani men are overrepresented by a share of 4 in child sex crimes. And when the children who have been abused by these gangs come forward and speak about it, they say they've been branded with the M for Muhammad on themselves, they've been subjected to forced Quran readings, and the families of the rapists have justified the abuse of the girls because they have said they dress immodestly by Muslim standards. And when they asked the police officers, the council workers, the politicians why they didn't speak up for this, in all of the reports they say for political correctness, for community cohesion, because they didn't want to upset the Muslim community. Now, as well as the security of Jews, which you mentioned, according to the Henry Jackson Society last year, only a quarter of British Muslims think October the 7th happened. Like 3/4 of them think Hamas did nothing wrong, and that's mainly concentrated among university-educated British-born Muslims 18 to 30. So I think we have a very different problem in the UK than we do in the US. So do you still think it's not possible to say Islam is not compatible with Britain?
Okay. I want to take questions in groups of 3, and to give them a chance to think about this.
No,
and
I want to answer that.
Oh, do you want to answer that right away?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right. Go.
Like, I'm sorry, those are your citizens. Citizenship is the only human right that every person has a right to. When you have citizens of your country, I'm not arguing that you don't have a cultural problem here in a certain subset of the citizenry of your country. But a country is made up of the people who live there who have that legal right. You need to work a lot harder on changing hearts and minds, because you cannot simply say that a certain citizen of your country is not compatible. And by the way, we have statistics like that in America. There are certain subpopulations who are much more overrepresented in child sex crimes. It would never occur to me to suggest that they are less citizens. Like, citizenship is a sacred thing. What are you suggesting, that they be denaturalized? Like, that is insane. That is utter. You do not have a democracy if you think you can denaturalize people based on their ideas.
I'm a scientist, so I think very analytically, okay? So take, for example, Sharia law, right? In Sharia law, it says that a crime will be punished differently as a function of the identity of the perpetrator and the victim. So if a Jewish man were to kill a Muslim man, it wouldn't be the same penalty as if it were reversed. I can give you all of the sources that support that Sharia ruling.
God, I have some bad news for you about the Talmud. Sorry.
But I'll ignore that for a second. So that said, you take a fundamental principle from Lady Justice being blind, where you don't do that in American jurisprudence. Those two realities are antithetical to each other. I'm not aware of too many Talmudic extremists who are trying to...
Well, exactly. It's a political problem. It's not a religious problem. That's my point.
90% of Islam is political Islam. About 10% of it is spiritual. So political Islam is a fundamental feature of Islam. There is no Islamism or Islam. There's just Islam. Erdogan, the Turkish president, has said so. 75,000 other Islamic clerics have said exactly the same thing. So we don't have many people who are trying to infuse Talmudic principles within American jurisprudence. We are seeing in the West an incursion of Sharia principles that is incompatible. So I don't think Muslims are incompatible with the West, because I may have a lot more in common with a Muslim secularist than I might have with an Orthodox Jew. So to say Muslims are not allowed in the West, I would completely disagree with. But are there tenets of Islam, to your point, that are perfectly incompatible with the West? Nothing could be clearer. A 3-day-old pigeon understands that.
Okay. We'll go here and then there at the end. Go ahead. Yeah.
We're in England, and I'm not an Englishman. I'm here as a guest in this country, and as a part of a guest community in this country, we have to behave ourselves. If I had guests in my house, I'd expect them to behave themselves, and if they didn't, and they started doing all sorts of awful things to my sister, for example, they'd be kicked out of the house. We need to understand that citizenship is not actually that important. What's more important than citizenship is inheritance. And the English have inherited this land. This is their land. We're here not as a right, we're here at their preference. And if a community doesn't understand that, they've got no right to be here at all.
I think that's one of the saddest things I've ever heard, and I'm going to be haunted by the spectacle of you standing there and saying that. If someone in my country said that, I would ask myself what I'm doing wrong. I mean, the idea that a citizen would call themselves a guest based on their religion is horrific to me. The whole point of my country is that that is completely anathema. If somebody made a Jew feel that way in my country, I don't even know what I would do to them. I will be haunted by that for a long time.
So first of all, the ridiculous thing that she mentions over there about the Talmud, and that the Talmud contains things that are in it that are antithetical to Western values. I have a very long lecture, you can go check it out, about all of the fake Talmud quotes that are out there and so forth. But I also do appreciate Gad Saad bringing out a different point, aside from the fact that what she thinks the Talmud says, the Talmud doesn't say. But aside from that, he says that there's not exactly people running around trying to instill Talmudic law into our civil secular society. And if there were, there'd be an issue. He says this is in contrast to the way that it is amongst some in the Islamic world. Is Islamists who are politically motivated want that Sharia law and various things that are counter to the West, that they should be instilled in various places within the West. So that is a key distinction. I'm glad he pointed that out. In order to have a society that's functional, you have to have a certain vibe, a certain worldview that everyone in that society will relate to, that like they can accept. It doesn't mean that everyone has to be exactly the same religiously, ethnically, or whatever, but that the society, in order to maintain itself, has to have a certain structure. I'm reminded, they were talking they gave multiple examples of Christianity and Islam, but when it comes to Judaism, so in ancient Israel, you didn't have to be of the Jewish faith to live in Israel. You just had to agree to adhere to a basic moral structure of living. So again, you didn't have to fulfill all the commandments, you didn't have to keep kosher, but if you wanted to live in the land of Israel, you had to not worship idols, not curse God, not murder, not commit adultery, not eat the limb of a live animal, not steal, and not to adhere to the court system that was prevalent at the time. And so that was the structure. You didn't have to become Jewish. You didn't have to abandon all of your belief systems and conform to Judaism per se. You just had to agree to live into the basic moral structure that the society was created upon. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that Judaism doesn't proselytize. Look, in general, wherever we are, the goal is not that other people should become Jewish. It's just that you should live a basic moral life. What is called in the West natural law. If a person can live by natural law, then they are in the good graces of God and have established a civil society and ultimately can merit a place in the world to come. That's our belief as as Jews. But in order to create any society and any cohesive group, you want to create a good business, you want to create a society, you want to create a family, there has to be something that represents the body structure of the group that we're talking about over here. If there are divergent, not only opinions and voices, but a divergent worldview of how it should function, and one that wants to usurp the current standard, the foundational worldview, then it's not going to work. And so for us as Americans living in an American society who are grounded in a Judeo-Christian, what I like to call Hebrew Bible values, so much so that our founding fathers viewed themselves as the new Israel leaving Egypt. They were leaving England, crossing a new Red Sea, the Atlantic Ocean, and winding up in a new promised land where they'd have the ability to serve God as they pleased. In fact, one of the original proposed seals of the United States was Moses parting the Red Sea and having the people walk through, because that's so undergirded the foundation of what America was built upon. These Hebrew Bible values in civil society, of liberty, of belief in God, and belief in the divine image of God that everybody possesses, is something that is inherent in our society. It's what Western values are shaped upon. And the more that we can get in touch with that history, and the more that we cherish what those values actually are, that's how we continue that our destiny be to the place that we want it to go. All sorts of ideologies, left and right, have over the years, over the centuries, in the United States and throughout the Western world, have tried to make their mark and cause that the United States or the Western world sway from it, what undergirds it. And we need to stay strong in who we are. That doesn't mean that we don't let people in. It doesn't mean that we are judgmental or are putting off anyone based on religion, color, creed, or anything like that. Everyone should be welcomed. The caveat, though, is that you have to agree to live on a societal level. You have to agree to conform yourself to the basic principles that shape Western society. If you can do that, then we dwell together in great joy and happiness, the way that it should be. If you like this content overall, hit that subscribe button over there in the corner. We'd love to stay in touch. Take care.